You're watching The Lighter Side of Tech.
Welcome to The Lighter Side of Tech. I'm your host, Mark Fletcher, and joining me as always is corporate humorist and keynote speaker, the funniest co-host that I could afford, Greg Schwem. Hey, Fletch, welcome to The Lighter Side of Tech, a brand new podcast where we're going to examine not only technologies, but how that has changed and evolved as this technology has gotten into our lives. And joining me today is my co-host, Greg Schwem, who is a corporate humorist and keynote. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today.
Fletch, I am so excited. This is the pilot episode. This is the one, right?
Who's flying?
This could make or break our careers.
Absolutely. So we're going to start out big today. Not only are we going to have a guest, but we're going to have an international guest. And I want to introduce Roberta Fox, who's the Chief Innovation Officer of 911 Tech Advisors. I've worked with Roberta on a lot of 911 projects in general technology. She is sharp as a whip. So be careful and buckle up.
Thanks, Fletch. And Greg, I'm pleased to be here. From
great
Northern
to have
Canada.
you here, Roberta. It's great to meet you. I've heard so much about you from Fletch.
Thank you.
So, Ro, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where you come from? Obviously from Canada. Eh?
Yeah, actually, I'm a fifth-generation farm kid who grew up fixing tractors and been working for 60 years picking corn. And I thought, why not get into tech? But I had a side track with music, so my first career was music. But I started out doing circuit board repairs and then doing network installations all over the world. And I've designed and managed some of the biggest networks in the world in corporate Canada. And then I thought, why not become a consultant? So I formed my company in 2000 with a team of very experienced people. And then we've been working in technology in the 911 space together for over 142 years. So we love putting people and technology together and using our creative skills.
And you know that we could do a whole separate podcast on how one goes from repairing farm equipment to music.
Sure. And then music
to 911.
I don't even know what that would be called, though. We'd have to come up with a title, but let's concentrate on this one.
Sure, no problem, guys.
So that's kind of a really interesting path, and it's kind of interesting that you ended up in the 911 space. And the technology that's involved in that right there. I mean, that's something that most people don't know about, as with tractor repair, probably.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
I think what's interesting is that 911 is always evolving. I mean, what I've read on your website and what I've read about your background, Roberta, I was telling Fletch off air before you joined us, is I think when people dial 911, God forbid that they ever have to, they always think they're probably getting the top of the line service. And here you are talking about next generation 911. So therefore there might be people out there going, wait, there's, did I not sign up for the premium version or something? Do I not have enough 911 points to get to the highest level?
911, are you a gold, platinum, or a silver
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and then are you public or privately paid, right? Because we have public health care in Canada, so we don't have a choice. But it's interesting, guys. When I first got into it, I thought I could do a diagram on one page, and Fletch has seen my diagrams. So I ended up trying to do every piece behind the scenes, and it ended up being 5 11 by 17 diagrams of pieces put together. So there's a heck of a lot of pieces. And as Fletch knows, the pieces are over 50 years old and they have to be replaced, which is what next generation is all about. It's moving to new technologies that a lot of us have been using for the past 20 years, internet-based. But it's also I'm really stoked about is we're going to be able to bring new capabilities. So we're going to be able to text and we're going to be able to do video as callers and the call takers. And we're going to be able to, more importantly, share information between different agencies. So I'm a medical alert person. So my medical alert information will be able to go to the dispatcher. I mean, just think of the improvements in healthcare. So I just love being in the sector. And I think the other part, and Fletch knows it from his experience, I love the people in public safety. They are the coolest, most committed, most caring people. And then the tech people are the best of the best. So I love working with them to help them evolve their technologies and acquire them and move forward.
Well, can I get an example? I'm sorry, Fletch. Can I get an example of video-based 911 calls? How would I, again, being, say, an end user, how would I use video if I had to call 911, and why?
Well, I'll give you two parts, Greg. I'll give you from the public safety first, because when I was interviewing a chief a couple of years ago, I said, "What would you like to do with video for 911?" So he said, "Well, I've got a situation where somebody's in trouble in a house, and there's a new recruit. It's first couple months on the job, and they'd have their camera. They could see what's going on, and the experienced supervisor in the dispatch center would be able to coach them and help them and de-escalate the situation and bring that experience, which would make the police officer feel better, and then also the person themselves would be able to see that they're getting help." Mm-hmm. From a caller perspective, what some of our early work that I've been working with the suicide sector that's already using new media, suicide prevention, they're thinking that in situations where there's distress, the ability to see the call taker and to be able to use the facial spaces to calm them down to help in the suicide support. So it's a way that they could improve the experience of the suicide prevention. So those are two examples where 911 and distress. And then time to distress. I've been working in distress centers since I was a teenager. So that's sort of actually how I got into 911, was working through distress sectors and suicide prevention. So I think video will be selective, though. It's not going to be for everything and everybody, because it's also going to be very intense on the call takers. And maybe not every call taker is going to be able to handle video, because there is a lot more intensity of seeing things. Seeing Fletch's smiling face, right? I always have to we'll have a glass of wine and recover later.
I have a standing bet that the first video 911 call is going to be somebody. "Hey, it's been 4 hours since I took my little blue pill. Check this out."
That's a far cry from "Watson, come quick, I need you."
Only my dear friend Fletch would think of that.
Yes,
oh my gosh.
Exactly.
I'm
See,
sorry,
good things come to those who wait, Fletch.
I got a $20 bet in several places. That will be the first.
Oh my gosh.
Call.
Why is it taking so long to get this? I mean, we live via video now. I mean, everything we do is video based now. Why is it taking so long to get 911 services up to speed with this technology?
Well, one of the things, the 911 networks are a separate network that have been running on digital technology. So it's like they've been on log roads, and now they're going to be going from log roads over to superhighways. So the infrastructure, the highways, the networks had to be upgraded. The call taking equipment has to be replaced. The PCs and the cameras and all the whole control center has to be replaced. So it's like, did you ever try to do video on a flip phone? No.
Yeah.
You had to go to but you had to go to a $1,400 iPhone, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, and the networks had to be ready. So, but in 911, and Mark, you can add on, but in 911, all of the pieces of the solutions have to be replaced to support the new media.
Okay.
It's not just one piece.
And you know what it is? Public safety has always had this. It's got to work all the time, every time, which is, kind of why they're there.
Right.
And they're afraid of the new technology. And, Google goes down for a couple of hours, or this happens and you don't have internet for a day. You can't just shut 911 off for a day. And until that resiliency and reliability got through all of the components of the network, public safety has just been a little shy. But the balance has tipped so far now where the old technology is not being maintained. And the old copper lines on the street, they don't want to replace them when they go bad, because now it's all going to be fiber. So you're in this spot where nobody's investing in the old architecture, but they're afraid to go to the new architecture. They don't make a choice. They're going to be stuck in the middle with nothing.
Well, and then Greg, to add on to that, I get asked that question all the time. Why do we have to do this? Can't we just stay with our old stuff? Because it's going to be an expensive move.
Right.
So I say to the chiefs and, the call takers and the paramedics, are you still using your very first computer that you had 25 years ago? I mean, with the 911 infrastructure, the stuff is 50 years old. The parts aren't available gray market. The people that know how to install it have retired or died. So, and I'm being very honest, like it has to be replaced, right? And the last part that's interesting, guys, is that coming into the centers, they haven't had redundancy, they haven't had alternate paths. So there's new wiring being pulled in and coming in from multiple places. So it's like rebuilding roads on top of other roads. So, and they also have to be able to replace them while they're still keeping the old log roads going. So it's massive, right?
And that is why I've never, ever thrown away my AOL floppy disks that I got for free at the grocery store, because you never know, Roberta, when you might have to go back to something like that. In fact, you know what? I'm downloading new art as we speak on that other computer. Should be done in 2 days.
How many coffee coasters did you get in the mail?
Right. Well, we just retired.
When the paperclip coached me through all the horrible decisions that I was about to make. They don't even do that anymore. Now, you don't even get a warning. It's just like you're about to delete your whole hard drive. Too late.
That's right.
You should have figured this out by now.
Yeah. Well, we had in our previous office, we had a cellular phone museum. And the last piece we got donated, and it was only 3 years ago, was a 3-watt bag phone that a photographer used it, and he still used it up until 3 years ago because it would work just about everywhere. And he was a nature photographer, and he could use it, and and the signal strength. So yeah, it's people hang on to their technology. We're the opposite. We get rid of ours and we replace it all the time. And I actually turn it into jewelry. I make jewelry out of computer parts as a hobby. But it's part of my retirement in the future. I don't know.
Did I find the most interesting guest you've ever talked to or not, Greg?
Yeah, right. When do you have time to make jewelry out of old computer equipment, Roberta? After that resume that you laid out right at the beginning.
Here it is. Here, that's a circuit board on the back.
Okay.
And there's some chips, and then it's a stone. So there you go.
And Fletch, do we have an 800 number that we can flash on the screen and say, if you order now?
For the first 35 callers.
Yeah, that's right. I'd be like that. I remember that IBM commercial where it was an e-commerce, and it went 50 orders, 700 orders, 700 orders, 2,000 orders, I'd be going, oh, heck. Right? That would be just too crazy. But,
I love learning about this. I love listening to you two talk about it, because it really is. You don't think about this. You don't think about, as we were talking about, you don't think about something that, again, you hope you never have to use, but that is evolving and that can always be improved.
Right. Well, and also, I guess the last part of the answer to your question, Greg, is it's become a perfect storm. So the networks are finally available. Right, the highways are finally available. The computing devices are affordable, and the applications are much more usable. Mm-hmm. So that's why we're going to be able to do video and text, and it'll be interesting because from the work I did with the suicide service when we went live in 2019, people said, "Oh, it's just going to be the millennials. It's just going to be the young people that are using text and chat." Wrong. There was a lot of people in their 60s and 50s and 70s. Just because they wanted to communicate without people hearing them, or they just preferred that media. Like I consider myself a digital native, a digital millennial, except I'm a baby boomer, right? So, I mean, I don't call people. I use everything as digital as much as I can, right? But it'll be interesting to see how we evolve and who evolves in what parts of the world and the ages as, in 911, both from a call taker and a caller perspective.
What do you find the difference in attitudes between Canada and the U.S.?
Oh, that's a good question.
Are we just talking 911, Fletch, or are we gonna like talk about what we think of beer or something like that?
No.
Are we limiting this to 911?
Your near beer?
Or hockey?
Sorry, that's about. I go. Oh well. So I'll stick to 911. it's actually we're further ahead of you folks in our deployments and our evolution. But I think that's because we only have 250 agencies and you guys have 7,000, except we have a much bigger country with a smaller landmass. So, you know, the Canadians seem to embrace technology compared to other parts of the world, including the US. And so some of the other things that we don't keep up with the world, but we're very pro technology as a country. And it seems to be across all ages, and whether that's government or public services or education. So, I mean, we had digital education before COVID. I mean, we had universities that were just virtual for at least 18 years. So Canada is very pro technology as a culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to tell you a funny story. I'm out in Western Canada somewhere. I don't remember where, but I know I flew in and it was a 3-hour drive north up into the north.
Alberta, you probably, yeah.
So, and I'm in this little small 911 center, one person there, and they're taking care of, you know, this little town area. And the phone starts ringing. And I'm talking to this woman, and the phone has rang like 5 times now. And I'm like, don't you need to get that? And she goes, oh, you know, I'll get it. Hang on. Don't worry. And she takes the call, and yeah, okay, fine. All right, whatever. And I'm like, aren't you worried about your speed of answer statistics? She goes, that was somebody on a sat phone from the North Pole. It's going to take us 7 days to get there. 3 rings isn't going to make a big difference in my response.
That's right. Yeah.
They called Canada's version of 911, and you said it will take 7 days to get there.
Well, maybe 3 days. Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, I feel much better.
Well, but
now,
Greg,
this is a guy calling from the Arctic Circle area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to take 3 days to get there.
Wow.
Yeah. We have 10% of our population has no street addresses. So where are you calling from? I'm calling 4 houses down from the maple tree with the red. I kid you not. Like it's an interesting country to try to. We have some areas that have no 911. They send out stickers for your fridge to call the ambulance and fire, and it's a long way away, right? And we have helicopter service and we have skidoo service. Because, again, 80% of our population lives within 100 miles of the U.S. borders. But to try to do 911 coast to coast to coast is quite an interesting challenge.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
You really got to love living in remote Canada if you don't have access to 911 services. You just I choose to live here, and I think it's probably going to die here too.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and actually the other part is, remote Canada isn't necessarily, 1,000 miles north from Toronto, right? From a communications technology availability or the public safety agencies, right? So it is an interesting challenge, but we do our best. And I think we've won all kinds of international awards and for our service and, how people get there and what vehicle they drive to get there or boat they drive to get there to help people. But that's just also where I'm really stoked about the new technologies that are going to give them more information and be able to put things more accurately in place and to know where they are. Somebody's hiking and they'll be able to use the Apple service and that information gets dispatched to the dispatchers. And, so this new stuff that's coming available is going to make it so much better for everybody.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned you mentioned the Apple service. Are you referring to your Apple Watch?
They've got a satellite relay service that they're putting out that will be able to pinpoint your location, and so you can text via satellite.
Yeah,
because
I've always been fascinated by those Apple Watch commercials where horrible things happen to people, like they get swept out to sea paddleboarding and they call for help on their watch and the watch finds them. And I thought, this is so cool. And then going back to the levels of service, I read in the fine print, you had to have like the top of the line, like with cellular plus capability and so forth. And I mean, that's the only reason I bought my Apple Watch is, I kind of hope something horrible happens to me so I can justify the cost of it.
Right. But then, Greg, think of this though, from a call taker's perspective, the default of the fall stuff is turned on. So since the watches have been introduced, there's been so many false calls 911 calls from Apple Watches that have caused unnecessary load on the emergency call centers, right?
Yeah, I think my watch. Yeah, I think my watch one time accused me of falling.
Yeah,
right.
Well, think about this.
Accused me of taking a hard fall, Fletch, and I didn't. I think I just, I think I just stubbed my toe on the bedpost or something, but that was enough.
Well, the ski areas out in Colorado, they get inundated with, when it gets icy, they can tell you what the ski conditions are better than ski patrol can. They find out first.
Well, and some of the fall notices were when people bought them on their car and they fell off the seat when they were bringing it home from the first time. Yeah. So it hadn't even been put on somebody's wrist. Yeah. So the good and bad of technology, right? But I love being in tech stuff. It's been over 40 years now, and I don't as long as my brain's working, maybe I'll use next generation AI and plug my brain into a robot body and keep Fox going and just talk, whatever. I don't know. As long as they can, I'll turn into a bionic woman or something. I don't know.
Roberta, thanks so much for joining us today and being our
You're welcome.
Inaugural guest. I don't know of anybody else that could replace that with you. And you set the bar. You set the bar's way up here.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And what an interesting subject to learn about. And it's not a subject that you wouldn't really equate 911 with humor, but I actually did a presentation years ago, and Fletch kind of schooled me on this for 911 call center administrators. It was out in Vegas because they need to blow off steam. And I learned so much and met so many just incredibly nice people who were just so passionate, like you are, about this service and how it can be improved. So kudos to you.
Thank you so much.
You were presenting to the APCO board out in Vegas, which was the high end of the
yes,
that's who it was. That's right.
Yeah, I'm an APCO member. They're great. I'm actually speaking at the conference end of March, but and the trainers actually do use some of their Girl Guide. I've taught them some of the Girl Guide tricks and Boy Scout tricks in Second City. They do use humor when they're doing training and some of the role playings, and they do teach the call takers how to use a bit of humor. You have to be very balanced, right?
Sure.
You would know, Greg. But we all humans, and they're humans helping humans. So, if you can support somebody and help them through and bring a smile on their face, if you're an ambulance person or a call dispatcher, it's great. But thank you so much, gentlemen, for the opportunity to be the first host. And, I love to help folks. And if anybody needs any help, we're here to serve.
Thanks very much, Ro. We're going to throw you back in the green room. There's coffee and soft drinks there.
Thank you.
Compliments of 911 Inform, our sponsor. Well, there you go, Greg. That was interesting for all of us, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just so great to learn something new about the world of technology. If you can laugh about it, even better. But I am, and I have a mom who's 87.
Wow.
Who we all have people in our lives that we know want to use, are going to have to use 911 services, and we want to know that they're being taken care of too. So the more I can educate myself on topics like this, the better.
Yeah, no, and you've got great material for your day job.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I can do something with levels of 911 support. That's for sure.
Yeah, there you go. So, where are you going next? Because you're a big.
Where am I going next? Crazy. I am going to Denver next. So it's March. I'm going to Denver, and I'm going to Orlando, and I'm going to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and Atlanta. So there you go. That's that kind of runs the gamut. So busy month of corporate laughs in March.
Do they have corporate events in Orlando?
If you look really hard, you might stumble across a guy wearing a badge somewhere.
Matter of fact, I think Avaya's got their conference going in Orlando this year.
They do. They got a big one in June. I'm hoping to be a part of it. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that.
Yeah, no problem. I think Eugene is running that show down there for Avaya, and good guy and good. You know what? That's where we originally met. Was at Avaya, one of the
Avaya conference. Yeah, exactly.
That was one of their rolling trade shows. I was just looking on the line the other day. That was 10 years ago.
Was it 10? Huh? No kidding. Man, oh man, where's the time go?
Yeah, it was 2012
Uh-huh.
when we first hooked up in New York City.
Yes.
In a dark booth in the Edison Theater, I think it was.
Was it there? I thought we were the Hyatt I thought it was like
it was
the
the Hyatt
by Grand Central Station, I think, on 42nd Street there. But yeah, and we talk, and of course you're a big comedy fan, so it's always great to talk to people in the corporate sector who know how to laugh and who also know how to laugh at themselves.
Well, that's where I became a fan of you, because I don't know what it is, but you are zoned in on my funny bone. And,
I like hearing that.
It's just incredible. Matter of fact, if I remember correctly, that first event where you and I met, Steve Wozniak.
Yes.
Was the keynote for
that. Was the keynote, yes.
And that were this big was all I remember about Woz. I don't know how he typed on a keyboard. It was just massive, massive hands.
Yes. Well, you know what? It's just so funny when you see the guys that are at the pinnacle of tech that still are regular guys and still have issues. I still tell a story about Steve Ballmer, former CEO of Microsoft, being backstage and about to go on and said, has anybody seen the clicker? He called it the clicker. I'm like, you invented PowerPoint. And if you're referring it to as the clicker, it's the clicker.
That guy, I met him at, we were at NBC in the Saturday Night Live set.
Okay. Right.
And it was a big announcement between Avaya and Microsoft, and Ballmer was there. That guy's a nut.
He's a little over-caffeinated.
I get tired just sweat pouring down.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. All right. Well, listen, Greg, I'll let you go. Thanks so much for being my co-host on this program. This I think this is going to be interesting.
I can't wait.
Up the interesting folks.
Yeah, I agree. Just people from all different walks of life, different parts of the world, and different parts of the technology sector, and that's going to be very fun for me.
Yep, absolutely. So, well, thanks very much, and you remain very bookable. Anybody needs a great corporate humorist and keynote speaker, Mr. Schwem is your man.
All right. Thanks a lot, Fletch.
All right, Greg. Have a great one. Thanks.
See ya.
That wraps up this episode of The Lighter Side of Tech with your hosts, Mark Fletcher and Greg Schwem. Lighter Side of Tech is brought to you by 911 Inform, providing enterprise-level emergency response solutions for compliance with Kerry's Law, Raybaum's Act, and Alyssa's Law, and making every second count when it matters most. Visit them at 911inform.com or call 833-333-1911 and schedule an interactive demo for your entire team. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and enjoy your day. Take care.